All right, I want you to imagine with me for a moment what a world would look like, what our nation would look like if abortion were illegal. Okay, now that is a controversial subject because as soon as you bring up a world or a nation or a state with illegal abortions, you immediately have a counter argument that states that things would be worse off if the murdering of children were illegal. Now, here's why this argument is even brought to the table, and it's because of the phraseology, the way that the terms are expressed. That when you say if abortion is illegal, then that means that women are forced to do back alley abortions. That also means that those women who have suffered the atrocity of rape and mistreatment and are now pregnant at a young age, and they're in a circumstance of dire need and struggle and stress. They can't care for their child. They're not fit to do so. So how could that be better than abortion? But if you take that phrase abortion out and you call it the killing of a human being, a human baby, the word fetus, if you did not know, means in the Latin means baby. It means a human baby that the science world wants to call it fetus as though it's just a clump of cells, but it's not. And so if you were to say in that very same argument that you care for the life of the mother, so don't let the mother suffer and die, and then in the very same breath say, but it's okay then to kill the baby in the womb, then you're ruining your own argument. And so you have to understand the difference. The major difference here is in the terminology. Is it the taking of a human life or is it not? So I want to advocate for the fact that a world without abortion or a world with illegal abortions would be better. It would mean that there would be less murder, less suffering, and the numbers at 1 million per year in just the United States alone and upwards of 50 million per year in the world, that we would have 1 million more image bearers of God in our nation every year. 1 million more little boys and girls, babies born into this world with the potential to serve and glorify their Maker. Now, let me just say, the argument that says, yeah, but to be born into this world has got to be worse off than to terminate the pregnancy. Because to be born into an evil world, who would want them to suffer in that place? And maybe you've had those arguments, and I've had women, or I've had one particular lady that, I've not had many of these arguments, fairly new to this ministry as far as a street ministry or actually putting myself out there. But one recent conversation with a woman who brought up that very argument, and they said that she had seen the atrocities and the suffering in the state of Maine, where I live, the Maine foster care system, and the children that have been abused. And all she's thinking is, how could we rather them live in this world of darkness than rid them of that potential or that possibility altogether? So the standpoint, the argument was it's better to abort them, better to terminate the pregnancy and spare them that suffering. But let me just tell you that you do not know the future of that child. Most of you, and myself included, have gone through horrible circumstances, some more than others. Some things that you would not want to even make a video of it and share it. It would hurt to even hear. So with that logic, would it be better then for me to have known you before that tragedy? And if I were somehow able to predict that something bad were going to come to you, that it would have been better for me to shoot you and end your life to spare you from that suffering. But here you are on the other side of that suffering, having learned, having grown, having been strengthened, hopefully. And you have the breath of life and you have the opportunity to live to the glory of God. Now, we cannot justify the evil of people that commit evil acts and that sin against innocent humans, innocent people. We're not looking to justify or sweep their sin out under the rug. Those things should be dealt with. But as far as the weak and the hurting and the taken advantage of, that there is a God of mercy in this world, a God of compassion, a God who sees the hurting and the broken, a God who does not snuff out the smoldering wick or break or cast away the bruised reed. He goes to those who are in suffering. So let me just say just for a moment, I pulled up this article because I wanted to be able to give some tangible evidence from that side of the argument. This argument, this article is from June 10th, 2019, by a woman named Margaret Worth, and the article is entitled "What Life is Like When Abortion is Banned." And she says, as Republicans in states around the country pass sweeping abortion bans, I think about what life could be like for women and girls if these laws take effect. I don't have to use my imagination. Women and girls across Latin America are already living in places where abortion is heavily restricted or completely banned. In the past year, I've done research for Human Rights Watch in 2 countries that ban abortion completely without any exceptions, even if the woman's life is in danger. Now, again, see just the beginning of that. The woman's life is in danger, so she's stepping in and saying, morally, we must care for the woman's life because it's in danger. Okay, just notice that. In the Dominican Republic, I spoke with Rosa Hernandez, whose daughter, Rosara Almonte Hernandez, known as Esperanquita, was diagnosed with leukemia, excuse my mispronunciation. Doctors initially denied her chemotherapy because she was pregnant and then refused to end the pregnancy because to do so would have been against the law. She died in 2012 at age 16. They let my daughter die, quote unquote, her mother told me. Again, a care and a concern about the ending of a human life, right? Okay. You see that. And then I met a health educator in the Dominican Republic who fought back tears as she told me how a few weeks prior she counseled a pregnant 11-year-old girl who had been raped by her stepfather. She's just a little girl. She doesn't know what's going on in her life or in her body, she said. But because abortion is illegal even for pregnancies from rape or incest, the educator had no options other than to refer the girl for parental care. In Honduras, I met a young woman facing jail time after having a miscarriage, unaware that she was even pregnant. She went to a hospital in intense pain. Doctors suspected she had attempted an abortion and called the police. She was taken from the hospital in handcuffs and remains under court supervision pending a trial date. This is what's happening, or banning abortions. This is what banning abortions looks like in 2019. This is not too long ago. This article was written in 2019. And this is where the United States could be headed if the courts permit cruel state laws like those passed in Georgia and Alabama to weaken or dismantle the rights protected in the landmark 1973 Roe versus Wade. I carry these heartbreaking stories with me. Again, a concern, she's calling it heartbreaking stories, and they are. That life, the life of those women is valuable. There should have been people around them to step in and care for and advocate for them and counsel and strengthen and take that situation, and people with life and resources and ability to walk with them through these tragedies. And again, the perpetrators are not justified in this. Justice should be had, they should be dealt with, and should be punished. But notice that this person writing this article is concerned about the human life. And here's what it says: I carry these heartbreaking stories with me, but I also think of the dozens of women I've interviewed who told me how they defied strict abortion laws to end pregnancies so they knew they couldn't continue. Research from around the world has shown that banning abortion doesn't stop it from happening, it drives it underground. Clandestine abortion is safer than it used to be because of a medication, but even in 2019, women still die from unsafe abortions. They say clandestine abortion is safer. That's an absolute lie. To say that any abortion is safer, because again, you have to completely overlook the fact that you're murdering a child, that you're taking a human. It's safe for who? It's a double standard. You are saying that we should protect life while you are murdering life, taking life from an image bearer of God. In Brazil, a country where abortion is illegal except in strictly limited circumstances, Ingrain Barbosa Carvalho, a mother of 3 in her early 30s, died last year from a botched abortion by a back alley provider. An obstetrician gynecologist in the Dominican Republic told me about a 19-year-old woman who came to the hospital in septic shock after an unsafe abortion 2 years before. She died despite the doctor's effort to save her. When abortion is heavily restricted or banned, women from poor, rural, or marginalized communities suffer most, as they may not be able to afford to travel to places where abortion is legal or pay what it costs. They're caring about the cost of the abortion and the ability to travel to where abortion is legal or where they're able to do it safely out of concern for that, while sweeping under the rug that to get there and to pay for it, which is significantly cheaper than adoption, which is a far better option for sure, that they're sweeping under the rug the fact that you're taking a human life. Around the world, an estimated 8 to 11% of maternal deaths are caused by unsafe abortion. In May, the Center of Disease Control and Prevention released data showing that hundreds of women die in the United States each year from preventable complications related to pregnancy. Preventable maternal deaths will only increase if access to abortion is further restricted. God forbid that there's maternal deaths. But again, this article is saying we are concerned for deaths that could be prevented while completely ignoring 50 million human lives that are being taken yearly around the globe, and 1 million a year that it's legal to murder children because they're in the womb. It is absolutely ridiculous. If policymakers in states like Alabama and Georgia are concerned with protecting life and reducing abortion, the new laws they are enacting will not have that effect. Unplanned pregnancies will still happen as they always do, and women will still need abortions. Need abortions. Women need abortions. It's a blanket statement. It is an absolute lie. And the numbers are absolutely clear that the percentage of women who abort based on tragic situations like this are in the single-digit percentage, and far more are being done for sake of convenience and life stages and just absolute promiscuity. God forbid that these things take place, and this is something that we should pray for. Churches, believers, those with the ability and the know-how and the resources should be stepping in to disciple and strengthen and come alongside women and teenagers and families of dire circumstances like this. But to say that unplanned pregnancies will still happen as they always do, and women still need abortions, but these will happen behind closed doors, and more women and girls will be injured or die. You cannot have a concern for women and girls dying while killing unborn women and unborn females. Like, you're to say that we need to protect life while you're killing life. It doesn't add up. What would life be like? What would a world be like with illegal abortions? You'd be saving lives. You'd be saving lives. You'd be preaching and teaching and educating the value of life. Cultures and communities would have to come together to pool their resources to say, how can we increase the productivity, the value, the dignity of all human life? And when there is a tragedy, when there is hardship, we step in. We give better options than murder. We give better options than the taking of a human life. We need to stop lying. People need to stop believing lies and hold to the truth, the image of God that is placed upon every human being, the mother, the father, the child, the unborn, and seek to protect that life. Don't let people lie to you any longer. I pray that we can end all abortion ministries as soon as possible, because we will not have the need to stand in those gaps, because it will be illegal. Now, will people go for back alley abortions? Absolutely. Absolutely. And we will do everything we can to educate and come alongside those circumstances to speak life and healing and forgiveness and reconciliation and hope as the church gathers around those people. So I hope you stand with me on this. Just wanted to share a few of these things, and go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and I'll be putting up more content on all kinds of different subjects. So make sure you subscribe, and thanks for watching, you guys. And be praying. Pray for this nation, that God would forgive our land and that He would heal us of this atrocious sin and the effects that it has had on our nation.